The first distinctly American musical style, jazz quickly shot to the forefront of American popular culture in the 1920s by combining the syncopations of piano-centric ragtime music with the raw emotion and pentatonic scale of the blues. It became so ingrained in the culture of the era that the time period even came to be known as the Jazz Age.
You're terrible, you're awful.
But the musical genre didn't simply fade away with the passing of the 1920s. It remained a dominant force in pop music, and had a consistent stream of innovators such as Count Basie who ensured its continued popularity. A testament to its tenacity was the growth of the jazz variant swing during the Great Depression, a time which was devastating to most all other genres. Jazz could not, however, survive the advent of the new rambunctious idiom rock and roll in the 1950s. It was unseated from its throne by the huge popularity of the new genre, which was filled with charismatic individuals like Elvis Presley. Jazz would continue to have a huge influence on other genres, though, and remained a force throughout the world. There is one place, however, where jazz has never faded from prominence. It is, unsurprisingly, the city of its birth, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Jazz is a huge part of the culture of New Orleans and every aspect of it. Brass music, innovative brass music has been a big part of New Orleans culture and Mississippi River culture since the mid-1800s, possibly earlier. There's a theory, a really interesting theory, that a lot of New Orleans' influence on jazz was after the Civil War during Reconstruction, when there was a three-tiered racial system, like the Europeans, Creoles, and Black people, and during Reconstruction, it kind of destroyed the Creole class, and a lot of those were like orchestra musicians, and played like classical music, and then all of a sudden they couldn't work like that anymore. So those guys took their serious classical knowledge and adapted it to the music that was being played on the street. That's kind of possibly where jazz came from, because of the New Orleans Creole classic musicians.
The key word in that last sentence is possibly. Other historians point to Congo Square, a cultured market in New Orleans in which black slaves would sell goods while also dancing to drum beats from Congo drums, as the birthplace of jazz. This was all well documented by abolitionist Ben Lundy, who grew up near Congo Square and documented the activity in the square carefully. One of his most important findings was the slaves' importation and improvement of the banjo, an instrument that would oftentimes be seen and used in early jazz groups. Buddy Bolden, the man credited with the invention of jazz as we know it, didn't begin performing until 1900, though. He and the Bolden Band created a unique variant of ragtime with blues flavor. He inspired King Joe Oliver, who in turn had a profound influence on Louis Armstrong, the most important figure in the popularization of jazz.
Louis Armstrong loved red beans and rice until the day he died, and he also liked smoking that reefer. A lot of people say when he held that handkerchief in his hand, there was a little cocaine in there. When he entertained, he snorted too. Or he was a hip cat.
I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. On Blueberry Hill. When I found you.
Armstrong brought pride to the city of New Orleans, and most importantly, recognition as the birthplace of the new music craze sweeping the nation. He inspired a whole new generation of jazz musicians with his improvisation, and spread the genre over the radio to millions. Jazz could not, of course, stay the dominant form of music forever. Rock and roll ensured this, but by no means killed jazz. Now, nearly 60 years after Elvis's first recording, we want to know how jazz is doing in its birthplace after Hurricane Katrina and all the developments in the recording industry. Katrina devastated New Orleans, so we wanted to figure out how it affected jazz and how jazz helped with the recovery process.
Brought a lot of attention to New Orleans, and the hurricane obviously did, and then the music element of New Orleans is such a positive thing, and such a big, like, only in New Orleans sort of thing, that it like has banned the outside world to come in and help New Orleans more because of our importance as a cultural group.
Finding data to answer this question proved to be a considerable challenge, so we resorted to a number that is symbolic of its presence: annual attendance at the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival. The 2-weekend event, which happens over the last weekend of April and the 1st of May, is sort of like a temporary mecca for jazz fanatics, so its attendance can be seen as indicative of the popularity of jazz as a whole in New Orleans. During the festival, an innumerable number of acts perform in clubs, on the street, and anywhere else where you can fit an instrument. The sounds of jazz give the city a palpable energy. The data as a whole is very inconsistent, fluctuating frequently, but it shows that jazz is alive and well in New Orleans and that it has made a swift recovery following Katrina. We had attendance numbers for 1970, 1990, and 1999 through 2011. Of special interest to us was the data for 2005 and 2006, the years before and after Katrina hit. We found that Katrina did indeed cause a significant drop in numbers, reducing the attendance by 75,000 from 400,000 to 325,000. However, we also observed that the total has risen back up as of last year's festival, which 400,000 people attended. A year has yet to surpass the 2001 festival, though, which coincided with Louis Armstrong's 100th birthday and raked in 650,000 visitors. This doesn't mean that jazz has declined in popularity since then. It just goes to show what a seminal figure Louis Armstrong is. In conclusion, we assert that jazz in New Orleans has not declined in popularity, at least in the past 10 years. This bodes well for the future of the genre, because if it was going to die off, it probably would be showing some signs of illness. It looks like it will continue to thrive in the Big Easy, its legacy carried on by dedicated and proud New Orleans residents.
So that's your first line. But when they put him in the ground, and the trumpets blow, everybody say, yeah! And then they start second line and back to the native. Yeah, that's your second line.
Yeah, I used to have peace, serenity, teaching divinity, break bread, sipping the blood, eating with enemies, blind, pearl on my mind, thinking we finna be this, that, and the third. Boy, did I learn, tables turn, Billie Holiday burned down to play.